Hello, beautiful people. If you're new here, welcome. If you are not new here, welcome back. We're going to do an Oathbound breakdown. You guys already know I've already done the recap on the first two in the Legendborn Cycle series. The first one is Legendborn, that's in two parts, and then I have Bloodmarked, which it's nearly an hour, but we got it to one video. Okay, so I hope you appreciate that. A lot of you guys have been enjoying the recap, so I decided, because I have been reading Oathbound since it came out. As soon as it hit my Kindle, I was already reading it. However, it's taken me a long time because first off, I'm scared. I'm scared. I didn't want this particular story in the series to end. I'm scared to figure out what is going to happen next. And I had like life things happen, so I had things to do. So anyways, we're going to go over the prologue. Okay, so this is how this is going to go. I'm going to go over each part. I think each part will have its own dedicated video. I wanted to wait a little bit before releasing these because I feel like with every book release, there's always someone out there that just wants to have spoilers. Like, why can't you just do a read along or a buddy read like I do on Storygraph? This is not sponsored, but if they want to, hello, because I've been using them for the past year, all of 2024. They're the only tracking app that I really keep up to date with, that I enjoy using. And so I started an Oathbound read along on there since release day. So it's open, I think, till July or even beyond. But I opened it up for a few months because even if you didn't read the Oathbound as soon as it came out, maybe you had other things to read, maybe you need to catch up on like the other books in the series, you still have time to read Oathbound. You still get to be a part of the discussions. I think we have like about 26, 27 people in there, and it's nice because I broke it up to each part, and some parts are long. So I kind of do like part two in two parts. So you can talk about the first half, you can talk about the second half of part two, and just truly discuss and kind of, see what other people pick up on that maybe you didn't pick up on, or vice versa. It's just a really good time. So I don't know why people do spoilers, because quite frankly, you could do a buddy read or a read along. That's why I created one, because I want to talk about things, but also I don't want to be spoiled. So it's a little bit more of a safeguard, because then I can discuss what I just read, because sometimes I want to discuss what I just read, and maybe like your buddy is not right there with you. You can still talk about it with other people as they come along. Sometimes I see new replies and I go back and I talk about stuff too. So it's just a really fun time. So I'll make sure to leave the Oathbound read along on Storygraph down below. Make sure you follow me on Storygraph, because I am a mood reader, true and true. And I don't know. Like, I think I'm gonna read a book this month, and then it's like, nah, we're changing route here. So, just follow me on Storygraph. Stay up to date on all the future read-alongs, because I will have some more coming up. I think I'm gonna continue to do like fantasy series and things like that. But, anyways, for this video, we're only gonna talk about the prologue, because the prologue itself has 6 chapters. Okay, I have my bookie here. I have my notes here. Okay, so we're gonna break it down like that. And I think that'd be a fun time. So try not to put any spoilers in the comment section down below. I know by the time this video comes out, the book has been out for a minute, but like, people have lives, people have things to do, and people have just started to find out about the Legendborn Cycle series. So I'm so excited for them. So if you are in a part of, if you're starting your first read or your reread of Legendborn or Bloodmarked, please go to those videos. Please let me know what you think. Chat in those comment sections down below. But I want to keep this one just to the prologue itself. Because yeah, Legendborn Cycle series is the #1 New York Times best-selling series, people. We're talking about the whole entire series. They don't play. They really should have done better with the rollout, but whatever. Let's go ahead and let's start with the prologue. Okay, the prologue is What Must Be Done, Chapter 1. Okay, so if you remember Bloodmarked, how that ended, we were gagged, because basically, Bree decides to make a deal. I almost want to say a deal with the devil, but she makes a deal with Erebus, and she gets taken. Like, she makes a deal, but she gets taken by Erebus. So Erebus takes Bree, and so she essentially leaves the order to become his pupil. She has some missions now, right? And I think at the end of Bloodmarked, we realized she also burnt up her ancestral streams to Arthur, to Vera, and this Again, Bree is not your typical medium. She is not your typical root crafter. She's not your typical blood crafter. She's not your typical scion of author. She is not your typical King Bree all day long. So the fact that she basically at this point destroyed her ancestral streams definitely is going to have consequences. So basically, Erebus is a Shadow King. I don't know if we realized that already or not, but Erebus is a Shadow King. Erebus is the person that he killed, so he mimics. So he's basically infiltrating the order from the inside out. He was regarded as like one of the most loyal Merlins, most powerful, loyal Merlins. At the end of Bloodmark, Bree sees Nick. Nick is like reaching out for her, like just trying to like grab her, like save her, protect her. And she tells him, I'm sorry. And she begins to say something else. And then like, that's the end of the book. So, Erebus mentions that like if Nick Davis had touched you, he would have never let you go. And he's like already a nuisance enough as it is. And this kind of comes up way later, actually. So keep that in mind. And Erebus, we're going to call Erebus. But I'm also talking about the Shadow King who is mimicking Erebus. I'm also talking about the Hunter. I'm talking about the Great Devourer. I mean, he is the Shadow King, period. So, I'm going to call him Erebus because that's what we known him as. And that's usually who he mimics as. That's the face, the mask that he has on. But when I say Erebus, I'm talking about Shadow King who hoodwinked everybody and thinking he's the most trusted, loyal Merlin, and he killed that fool who knows when. Who knows how long ago he did that. So he did that. And we're made very clear that Erebus is full demon, babes. He is full demon. He does not possess humanity. He steals it. So when Erebus takes, first off, recap, Erebus takes Selwyn, right? Because Bree wanted him to take Selwyn to Natasha, his mother, because Selwyn consumed Bree's power during their dream walk to save her, basically, and save themselves. And the only person they know that could have any idea on how to keep a person from really going over the edge, succumbing full into the demonia, having some kind of, making it to where it's normal. And we kind of already know that how we learn about Merlins and succumbing to the demonia through the Order's teachings aren't exactly accurate. So we think that Natasha has the information to help her son. Mind you, she left her son ages ago. So yeah. Anyway, so after Erebus took Selwyn to his mom, dropped her off. First off, how did Erebus I guess Erebus kept tabs on Natasha. Like, how did he already know where this lady was at? I guess he knew. So after he did all that, he took Bree. That's how we end Bloodmarked. And they end up in a British museum in London. Like, they are shadow traveling in a British museum in London. And this is where Bree sees a woman, a sarcophagus, and the medium instinct in her wants to touch it to see if her spirit still lies dormant, but we still don't know because of what she done to her ancestral streams. Is that even possible? Like, is her medium powers even accessible? But when she sees this woman laying here, she just feels like this shouldn't be her final resting place. And in fact, she flashes back to Alice, who is her best friend, who ended up in a coma because when Bree was possessed with Arthur mollywopped her, and she has been unconscious this whole time. She has been in this coma this whole time. And I'm really worried for Alice. I'm just really scared. This whole time I'm scared. I'm just really terrified. Anyways, this is also where we realize that the whole bargain that Bree and Erebus did, like, remember, she's like, I need you to take someone here. I need you to teach me. Only a king can teach a king. Yada, yada, woo, woo. It becomes revealed that they actually entered an unregulated bargain, which makes sense because, remember, Valakaz is usually the one who is one of those, like, brokers. And so they didn't have a broker when they made this bargain. Like, Bree did not think to have a broker during all of this, so not only are they an unregulated bargain, but Bree actually asked him of not one command, but 2 commands. And only one fulfilled. And this is where we realize that Brianna ends up owing Erebus. We are good as Oathbound, you and I. Yeah. So we're kind of in a pickle because now we owe Erebus something, and he's gonna try to cash in on that sooner or later. We'll find out later. The Shadow King also takes Excalibur. Remember, Excalibur was previously in 2 pieces. I believe Bree forged it together. Bree had it in her possession. She had to give him the Excalibur on her own volition, so she does. And after that, they travel once more. They also meet this other demon, Grushel. I can't remember his name. It starts with an A, like a Garaz or something like that. Anyways, yeah. So this time they end up at the Shadow King's home. He has somewhere to go because remember, he's still masquerading as Erebus to the Order. The Order is none the wiser. And quite frankly, the Regents get on my nerves. They're none the wiser. And they have their own motives anyway. So, whatever. They end up going to Erebus's home. This is where she meets the twins. Ever since she went to the museum, we're seeing seepage of Bree's power. Bree is so heavy with so much guilt, so much remorse. Like, she just thinks of every person that means something to her in her life and how they're all in danger, how they all sacrifice something for her own safety, how they're all in this effed up predicament because of her. So it was weighing heavily on her. And I think seeing the sarcophagus at the museum and that triggering that memory of her best friend Bree, who is in a coma, that just sends her over. And so now we're having this seepage of her power, and this has never happened before. And this leads her to meeting the twins, Zoel and Elijah. Zoel and Elijah are balanced cambions, very much like Valakaz. Remember, Merlins are half human, half demon, but they're mostly human. They have to do things differently to keep their demonicness at bay. They have to fulfill their oaths. They have to keep their humanity intact. Cambions, especially balanced cambions, are equal babes. They're equal, okay? And they can, because of that equality between the two, they are a little bit more, they're balanced basically. They're more balanced than Merlin. So since Bree has been seeping out her power effortlessly. She needs to learn how to contain it. She needs to learn how to lock down her root, lock down her power, because if she keeps seeping it, every demon kind known to man is going to be attracted to her, especially with all these heavy weight and emotion and guilt that she is feeling and that she is carrying. It's just even more enticing to demons. And so yeah, she meets Elijah and Zoel. And these twins kind of gave me the feeling like they're like Erebus's kids. They're not his kids, but they have some kind of agreement going on, but it's a very I am your guardian type of vibe between them. So she needs to get her root and her power locked down. And basically Erebus I'll give you a 10-minute head start before the twins could come hunt you down and capture you using ether only kind of thing. So yeah, so she gets a head start. The twins are so intrigued by her. They're like, can we eat her? Can we eat her once we catch her? And Shadow King's like, I'll consider it. This turns out to not only be a test for Bree, but a test for the twins as well. I'm sorry. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that was chapter 1 and 2. So let's get into chapter 3. Bree has constant flashbacks to those she left behind, those who add to her guilt and her grief. Needless to say, that plus her seepage does not help her stay hidden from the twins. When they find her, they end up tussling. She ends up at this point, which will come up later, she ends up hitting a glowing wall that feels alive. And I remember in my notes initially, I'm like, I feel like we will come back to this later, and we definitely will. Instead of waiting for Erebus, because now they captured her or whatever, Zoe wants to... Zoe or Zoe? Goddamn. Anyway, Zoel wants to try and consume her power. Elijah's kind of like, shouldn't we wait for the Shadow King? And she's like, nah, like we shouldn't. So they try to consume her power and they end up in horrific pain because, again, she's blood marked. So they end up becoming in horrific pain due to Bree being blood marked and kind of regretting trying to consume her power. Chapter 4. They are howling. Okay, they are howling. They're in pain. Erebus like, this is what they do. You know, Zoel rushes and Elijah follows. They're driven by hunger of different stripes. Remember, Erebus is willing to help in their bargain to help her be stronger, and thus he will be even stronger when it's time for Bree to die or pay up. That was the whole thing. He helps her become stronger. She wants to become untouchable. She wants to be unstoppable. He helps her do these things, right? Because only a king can teach a king, right? King Arthur, all he wanted to do was manipulate her and possess her body. Regents, after regents. And then you have Shadow King, who blood marked her ancestors, the whole thing. He still wants to, you know, get what he is owed at the end of all of this, but he's the only one that could really teach her how to be a king. Interesting. A full demon may be strong enough to bear the pain, to consume and to feed off of Bree. A full demon might be able to do that. They might be able to bear that pain that comes with that. But they would also have unimaginable power if they do that. Now, what I'm thinking is, remember, Cell is a Merlin. Cell ain't a balanced Cambion, but he is part human and he is part demon. And there's something so, like, I don't know, it's like sweet and sad. Like, he was willing to do anything for Bree. So he overcame the pain of her blood marked during their shadow walk to save each other. So I think there's something sweet about that. But he's the only one that's been able to overcome that pain to actually consume Bree's power. And that's saying something. And that also says something because Cell didn't have a typical descent, did not have a typical tip over Demonia. So figuring out his whole thing is going to be a whole other thing. I even wrote in my notes, makes me think of Cell. Chaos favors imbalance, and the Order's Merlins are mostly human. Their fate would be worse by far than the fate of a full demon or even a balanced Cambion. Cell may have succumbed to Demonia far too quickly by consuming Bree's power, may be too far gone for Natasha to help him. Quite frankly, Erebus never digged Cell to begin with. He's like, why are you still with him? Why are you still traveling around with him, Bree? Like, that's so beneath you. That's the vibe that Shadow King Erebus gave. So he's like, okay, cool. I'll drop Cell off to his mother. It's a wasted cause. Like, he just feels like it's a waste of time. He's gone. It's over. Let it be, right? It's crazy that he's like dismissing him, but at the same time, Cell's the only one that's been able to consume Bree's power, withstand that pain. And Bree is unique in herself, so I don't think we should count Cell out. I don't think we should just write him off like that. Bree even mentions, what's more human than risking what you have and what you are for someone else? That's what I mean. Like, Cell. Oh. Okay, we're on chapter 5. So, Bree is realizing that you don't call my powers root in front of the twins. He tells her, like if them or if there's any demon out there that finds out that Arthur Pendragon's blood runs through you, like, you're cooked. Like, they would kill you without hesitation. And in fact, to accrue hell, your death is an holy aspiration. Erebus is still annoyed by Bree's seepage of power. He's like, this new loss of control, like, what's going on with that? What is up with that? Like, I don't like that. So he ends up altering Bree's blood mark. Okay. What does this mean? It will still notify him if she's in mortal danger, if anyone tries to consume her power per usual. Okay, so the blood mark will still let him know if she's in mortal danger. Will still let him know if someone tries to, devour her power. but it will also let him now monitor her strength. He's like, if I'm going to build you up to be the baddest the baddest king walking, I need to monitor your strength, because it looks like you're seeping your strength all over the damn place. I don't like it. I need to keep an eye on it. I need to monitor it. So he can basically call on her mark at any given time, at any distance. He does this throughout the book. It's a little bit annoying. It's kind of like a house arrest tracker kind of thing, but now he can monitor her strength kind of thing. And we just are making a note that her newfound loss of control was definitely noticed once they was at the museum, the British Museum in London. I feel like that's going to come up later. Erebus mentions, something is generating dire emotions within you in layers so rich that together with your root, your uncontrolled humanity floods this clearing and my senses. Even now, you radiate a cocktail of suffering so thick that you could draw a passing demon to my home with a stiff wind. After this, he like low-key hypes her up, like, you know, like kind of reminds her of like all that she had to face and overcome. And he's just curious on like what unsettles her so easily that she loses grip at the very same power that she fought tooth and nail for. Like, he low-key hypes her up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, yes, you know who you're dealing with a little bit, okay? And he's curious, like, will you never truly claim what you have inherited? I think back to Valak and him saying like maybe Bree is like the only one, our main chance at, you know, battling the hunter. And I kind of feel like Shadow King, he is well aware of many things about Bree, but I still feel like there's a part of him, I don't know if he fully underestimates her. I think he probably doesn't want to, like, he hypes her up a little bit, right? Just a little bit. But I don't think he really wants her to truly know just how powerful she already is. You know what I'm saying? And he mentions, like, you know, Bree wears her heart on her sleeve just like her mother did. She's like, don't talk about my mama. Like, chill out with that. So that kind of tips me off, like, oh, it's thinking about your mom. Is that what gets you going, kind of thing? Anyways, he wants her to force a construct. And so she starts out doing so as like basically kind of how she sees the order does it. So she does the whole constructing, you know, authors, you know, like the order's way, basically. Arthur's weapon. And Erebus reminds her, like, yeah, but like your root is more flexible than that. Like, so do better. Basically, he reminds her, strength, power, and control are what you wish to possess, girl, not what you wish to become. So she wants to become XYZ, which we'll go over because that's kind of like the name of the next parts, so that all her power and her pain belongs to her. Right. She has been dealing with ancestral pain and like generational curses basically this whole time. And I think a part of her burning the stream of her ancestors, she's like, I'm just so, first off, no one can help me from my past, present day. No one can fully understand what I've dealt with present day, but they've all contributed to my present day problem. And I'm sick of being everyone's answer. I, for one, just want to, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like she meant so much to everybody else, but what does she mean to herself? Like, she has to avenge her mother's death. She has to, you know, be the tip of the arrow for the line of Vera. She has to, you know, be the king. She's the Scion's king, King Scion. She's the Scion of King Arthur. And even though that's her title, she's still not enough for the order. And she's sick of it. So I don't blame her for burning her stream, but I already knew that was going to come with a price. That was going to be a major price. Anyways, now we're on to chapter 6. This is the last chapter in the prologue. And so shortly after he alters the blood mark, though, we realize whatever Erebus has done to her, some of the major important people that we come to know in Legendborn and Bloodmarked, those people in her memories are gone. So she still like has like her memories kind of like as like how she shows up, like memories of where she has been, but like these important characters in her life where she feels like so much guilt and grief around, they become like a mystery. Like it's just like a gray figure mist of a person where she doesn't know their personality, she doesn't know their name, she doesn't know any details about them in place of these memories. She does still know her mom. She knows her mom, she remembers her mom in every single detail. But like people like her father, people like Alice, people like Sel, people like Nick, William, Lark, these people are just gray figures, and she doesn't know them. She doesn't know their name. She doesn't know who they are. She doesn't know anything, but she still has some memory surrounding them, but she doesn't know who they belong to. Scary. I'm like, oh shoot. But this is not a mesmer. You know, Bree can resist mesmer. This is not a mesmer. I'm afraid not. Okay, this is not a mesmer. She's like confronting Erebus, Shadow King, and like, tell me how to reverse it. He's like, you cannot. And then, or he's like, she's like, reverse it. He's like, I can't. And then, so then she says, tell me how to reverse it. He's like, you cannot. And then she's like, well, then who can? He says, no one can. And I need y'all to highlight that. I need y'all to pay close attention to that. No one can. What the fuck? Anyways, just highlight that. Highlight that. He offers the same agreement to her as he did with the twins, basically saying, while you're here, however long this goes, basically, if you ask me a question, I will answer it truthfully. I'm not just going to tell you everything, though. Okay? So he could be withholding things through omission. And I think that's also an important note to note. Okay, so now that those people are just gray mist in her mind, Erebus is excited because it's like, now that your emotions are not muddying the waters of control, let us see what you can do. Because she felt so much grief and guilt with almost every single person in her life, in her family, for the position they're in right now, for leaving them, for everything. Now that she doesn't remember who those people are, I guess she's not seeping out anything anymore. At this point, Erebus creates a barrier so him and Bree can talk plainly, so the twins can't hear. And this is where he kind of like does like manipulation, she's like basically threatening to leave. And he's like, yeah, but like if you went back and like all those important people that you left behind, how would they feel that you don't even remember them? Like you don't even know them really. You just forgot about them. How would they feel about that? Like, would that really be good for them? Like, would they really welcome you with open arms? Like, would they really give a fuck? Like, think about it. So he kind of deters her from leaving. I don't know how she's going to leave and find her way back home regardless, but he deters her from leaving. And then he forces her, he's like, not force her, but he's like, you need to forge a construct, Bree. Let's get back to, now that you're not seeping out your energy, let's get back to the lesson at play. You failed that one mission, that one lesson with the twins. I'm not going to go back over lesson 1. We're just going to go straight to lesson 2. And what you're going to do is you're going to forge a construct, okay? This time she calls for her root. And instead of it being red, it is purple, okay? She focused on a single desire. She channels an intention. And this intention was protect. And all before you know it, she is standing in the middle of her own beautiful, glorious, purple glowing, crack-a-lacking sphere that's embedded into the ground about a foot. And this sphere is fed by the power from her hands, from her root. And Erebus is like, good job. You passed your first lesson, because she wants to become untouchable. And then he tells her, okay, now one word to take it down. And now they begin. So, you guys, that was the prologue. I've never read a prologue that is 6 chapters. But I'm scared. I'm scared. I am petrified. I am holding my breath, because what the hell is about to happen? So yeah, Erebus is teaching her. I'm just scared because of the unregulated bargain they decided to get into. I'm scared to know that now Bree actually owes Erebus. I'm scared because what do you mean she doesn't remember the important people in her life? Is this permanent? Is this forever? Does she ever get her memory back? How does this work? She doesn't even know her dad. She don't even know her daddy. Anyways, the next part is untouchable because, again, she learned how to do her sphere construct. We're going to learn how to be untouchable. And so that will be in the next video. So if you liked this breakdown of the prologue, please let me know. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you leave your comments and thoughts down below. For heaven's sakes, if you're going to do a spoiler, which I hope you keep your prologue thoughts in the prologue comments. Don't worry. We will go over all the other parts for your other comments too. And if you also want to share more, make sure you join my read along on Storygraph. Because if you read the book, as long as you tracked that you read the book, you can type whatever you want to type as it pertains to that particular section. So please try not to spoil it in here. If for some reason you may not can help yourself, if you think it might possibly be a spoiler, write a comment, let us know that it's a spoiler, and then reply to your own comment with the spoiler. Like, let's just try to keep the spoiler hidden and folded in under the comments. But yeah, part 1 is untouchable. That will be next. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already so you stay tuned for the next parts. The next video is coming up soon. Yeah, until next time. Peace.